Okay, we will call this Agenda and Priorities meeting to order for November the 20th. Welcome to everyone who's with us today, and I will ask Councillor Bates to please read the land acknowledgement.
The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis and Inuit who have lived on and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
All right, thank you. And I'd also just like to acknowledge it's Innisfail's 120th birthday today, so happy birthday, Innisfail. And I'd just like to pay tribute to all the visionaries and the doers and the givers and all the volunteers who have really shaped Innisfail into what it is today. I look at these pictures up here and they start in 1911, which is pretty cool. And I think of everybody along the way that has made this community what it is. So thank you to everyone, and I'm sure the next 120 years will be fantastic as well. So we will move into 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor and Council, under Delegation 3.2, the Alberta Recycling Management Authority, please.
Okay, thank you, CEO Becker. Can I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I so move.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, so I would like to welcome up Brad Watson with the Little Free Libraries. And welcome, Brad. Thanks for coming today.
Well, thank you so much for an opportunity to come today and talk about the Little Free Libraries a bit. All started a couple years ago during COVID. We were trapped in our houses, and I set up a Tupperware tub in front of our house on the step and let my neighbors know, hey, you know, I need books, you might need books. So kind of just said, if you need one, come and get one. And if you have one to leave so I can read, then leave that. And, you know, it worked out pretty good. It wasn't the handiest thing overall, but it got me thinking about the organization, and I'd heard a little bit about Little Free Libraries. So I started thinking about having one in our neighborhood, and my wife Wilma was able to find a little dollhouse for sale in Red Deer, and I picked it up, and I spent part of COVID working in the garage and converting a dollhouse into a Little Free Library. Once it was done, you know, I got a hold of Megan, you know, and the town staff and said, hey, you know, I've got this thing, I want to set it up, what do I have to do? And she very kindly gave me a little bit of direction, and the first one was set up in the neighborhood over by the mailbox. So it was great. Found a couple people that would help me out with it, and you know, we found that there was just a great response from the community. Kids loved it, and so we carried on. A little bit further along, I think some of my folks had give Johnny a bit of a heads up. Hey, there's something here. Johnny did an article, and from there I got in touch with another lady who was wanting to set one up, and we got the second one by Dodds Lake on her property. So moving along, so now there was this one, and there was others in town. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But along about that time, I said, well, we need to have a little bit of a way to connect. And so I set up a Little Free Library group on Facebook, that way, hey, we can talk, and if somebody's got books and needs books, we can do that. I think the other thing is, you know, in moving along, it gave an opportunity to help identify folks that can take care of the libraries, the stewards. And so I was able to identify some folks, and we carried along. Then I kind of learned about Men's Shed in town, and I hadn't really been involved yet, but I thought, hey, this is a good opportunity. I'm gonna go talk to them. Got very interested, and I've been working with them a lot over the last while. But really, it's a bunch of guys that have time, and they've got some expertise, and they want to contribute back to the community. So I said, hey, I would like to get another library done. We've got a spot picked out. I've got Stewart identified. Let's build one. And that turned out to be our very largest one. Very big. And an elevator to fit the theme in town. But the guys got into it. And you know, what we saw through the Men's Shed is the guys got very interested. And they've sort of adopted it from their side. Men's Shed, I mean, we don't have, you know, a home as yet. We don't have a big budget. So really they depend on projects to, you know, help those guys feel fulfilled and work shoulder to shoulder. And, you know, we found it's a good thing. Men talking with each other. And that's the side benefit that we get out of that, and it's been good. We engaged the art club. So the little doll house that was needing some paint, we had the art club come and paint it. It's on the right hand side. So Karen came and did a bit of a landscape on it. IWIC came along, and we've had some discussions with them, and they were wanting to support. Initially with some books, and I said, great, we can do that. And then, you know, Donna got excited about maybe having another one, and that's going to be in place tomorrow at the arena. I had very little to do with that one. I can't really claim any responsibility for that, other than maybe moving some things along. You know, and then I wanted to, you know, thank the town staff. I know I ruffled maybe the odd feather. I'm an old pipeline guy, and sometimes I do that. But I guess the big thing is and collaboration. I didn't list donors, so we have had, you know, people come along and they support the thought, and when they put out money, keeps guys busy, and we get that. So that's kind of the collaboration portion, and I think above all else, that's been the part that's been most fulfilling to me, is how much community gets behind. Further engaging the community, so here's a couple of our unveils, and it was so fantastic to have councillors out for that. And you got to see that the community was involved. You know, we had folks that were willing to take care of them and fill them up. And so yeah, we've got Ryan Dodd on the one. He donated the Niobe elevator, and then we had the United Grain Growers. Subsequently, that one, we worried about locations. That one did get a piece of the plexiglass busted, and we were able to go out and I got that fixed. So, you know, we've got the builders, we've got stewards to take care of them and watch out for them. The neighborhood, you know, the neighborhood gets involved, and it's so great. You know, little kids books are high demand because they come and get them and they don't want to bring them back, which is fine with me. because that really goes to talk about some of the benefits. Wanted to talk a little bit about the locations. And so in town, we've got 6 plus 1. So I included the IWIC one in there. So we've got 6 registered locations, and you can see there's 5 of them that show up on the little free library map. And there's one other one that is registered. It doesn't actually, they haven't mapped it yet. So I've gone by a few times. I haven't been able to catch them at home, sort of to help them out. But you can see a little bit the spread throughout the town. And we've got one side kind of partly covered, and the other side is fairly empty. We've got some private ones in town where it's on private property, and there's a few, a couple that I know of. So there's someone that takes care of it. It's of their own interest. There's no sort of agreement in place, whereas, you know, we do have the agreements for the other ones to maintain them and make sure that they're in good shape. And really with the private ones, so there's kind of no control there. I mean, other than if a neighbor sees it and it's gone, you know, doors are hanging off. If a neighbor says something, you know, to bylaw, you know, it could be handled that way, but it lacks a little bit of that control. And then we've got a few book exchanges in town. I mean, the Co-op, the Legion, and a few others where, you know, you've got no steward, there's no agreement. It's it's a place of business or whatever. And again, no control. So, you know, really like the idea where, hey, we've got someone to take care of these registered locations. Overall benefits of the library. I can't come and talk about it without talking about literacy. And I don't think there's anyone here in the room that I really have to say a lot to about the importance of literacy. We know that it's not, with kids, right, it really sets them up for a better future. And it's not just kids, but it's even young adults and adults. It's reading is so important. So just a little bit of information, you know, from the Little Free Library org, you know, it's about building community, inspiring readers, expanding access to books. And, you know, I kind of looking at through stuff, there's no conflict with libraries. It's really seen if you can get connected with the library, which is something that, you know, we're going to work on. It's an advantage. So, but kind of worldwide, 150,000 Little Free Libraries in 120 countries and 300 million books shared. So that's just really what I wanted to do today, is just highlight. I know that we've got some work to do, and I know that there's, you know, an upcoming policy and that will be done. And if there's anything I can do to contribute there, I'd love to help out with that. But thank you.
No, thanks so much for coming, Brad, and absolutely love this. That community collaboration is just amazing. I think Community Partners in Action, I think, launched Men's Shed whenever with a bit of a grant, and that's now expanded. And this is part of it, and IWIC and the Art Club, like it's just what you want to see, right? And it's all done by people in the community and by volunteers. So thank you so much for spearheading this. And does anybody want to, Councillor Messaros?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Yeah, I just want to thank you too. And I just want to say we've got one in our neighborhood, and I was out walking my dog one morning and some people were discovering the one in the neighborhood and they were just squealing. They were so delighted, and that was really nice to witness that.
Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, and thank you to Brad and the delegation for coming forth and presenting. One question. How do we get that sort of east side of town filled in with a few of those little blue spots? How does one go about applying for a place to put a library?
Yeah, good question. So we do have some more sponsors that have been identified that would like to donate the money to build one. Because as I said, the man shed guys, they need the materials to do the work, and really they need to make a little bit of a profit off it, because we've got to try and support that. So we do have a few sponsors. I know that I've got a few people lined up for stewards, and really it's about connecting a steward in an area that can help watch over it to a location that would be suitable to put one in there. I think the advantage of, and it's an advantage and a disadvantage, I guess, the location. If it's on private property, I mentioned there's kind of that lack of control. If it's on town property, then we've got a little more control over what happens with it. So, you know, I think we just need to work, find the stewards, find some likely locations, and say, hey, let's go in there. Once we understand what the policy is, we can do that.
Supplementary then, and I direct this through to administration. Would the group be eligible for the community enhancement grant that comes up every year to apply for that, Director Jenkins?
Yes, so the Community Benefit Fund does support capital, so if they needed funding for the actual materials and the construction, so that would be one option.
Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Yeah, just a huge vote of thanks from me. You know, it's funny, for probably 20-ish, 25 years, there's been this language that's been going around about community capacity building, and big cities really struggle with trying to come up with really good examples of community capacity building. But this particular kind of project and the way you've engaged some really diverse other organizations, like to connect with the Men's Shed and the Art Club and the Welcoming and Inclusive Communities, it's just completely about building the capacity in Innisfail, and I just really appreciate it. I am, however, afraid you've lost my address, and I am on the east side, so I'll be expecting that call. Congratulations and thank you.
I haven't forgotten, Janice.
So Brad, what is it to sponsor a library? Or does it depend on the size? Or?
Well, it really depends on the size. We're, you know, the ones that we did, we were probably in the neighborhood of a very small one, around $250. But our average probably is something, I'm gonna say a little bit north of 300. And that's putting it into a good size.
Yeah.
We've got some that are too small. We've got an elevator that's really, really big. But the games are going over very well, I understand. So, yeah, a little in that range.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it, and keep up the great work, and good luck dealing with the bureaucracy. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. They're good. They're all good, yeah. Yeah. Okay, and I'll just, we'll move on to 3.2, and I'll ask Director Kennedy to please introduce our next delegation.
Great, thanks, Mayor Barclay. So yeah, so we have online with us Victor and Kim from the Alberta Recycling Management Authority. We've asked them to come on and just give council a quick update, maybe an overview of what the Extended Producer Responsibility Program is, and maybe a status of where it's at. We have pre-registered for the program. That does give us, obviously there's no commitment to that, but we did get on there and get pre-registered in order to get this type of information to you guys. So I will hand it over to Kim and Victor.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear us okay?
We could use a little more volume. if that's
Sure.
possible.
I'll try to speak a little louder.
Okay,
Does that
thank you.
work?
Sure, it's good, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, so good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for having us join your meeting today. So my name is Victor. I am the Director for EPR Operation here at ARMA, and joined with me is my colleague, Kim Tykrope, who is the Manager of Compliance here. So we're here to chat with you a bit about EPR in Alberta, where we are currently and what it means for a community. And I think if I could just have the ability to share the screen, we do have a short presentation for you. It's still not coming up for me. Would it be easier if I sent the presentation over?
Just hang on, Victor, we're going to try it here again.
Sure, sounds good. Oh, I believe I can share screen now. Is it okay if I take over the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, just want to double check. Everyone can see that okay?
yes, it's working fine. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so just a quick background about ARMA for those of you who may not know. So ARMA, or Alberta Recycling Management Authority, is a non-for-profit organization incorporated under the Societies Act here in Alberta. We are what's considered a delegated administrative organization. And really what that means is that we have the delegation of authority from the government of Alberta to enact on certain responsibilities. And for us, that is, we see the overall aspects of end-of-life processing of material for electronics, paint, tire, and used oil storage programs here in Alberta. And as of November of last year, ARMA was named the oversight for the Extended Producer Responsibility Regulation. So on our stewardship side, we have 157 municipal and Indigenous communities that manages 435 electronics, paint, tire, and used oil collection sites throughout the province, including 2 in Innisfail. And the goal is to equip Albertans to do the right thing and keep products out of landfills. So a bit of the overview on what extended producer responsibility is. So EPR is the new regulation here in Alberta, and the focus is to shift the responsibility of recycling from local governments and taxpayers to producers of recycling material. The goal of the model is to hold producers responsible for the products that they generate, including the packaging and any material alongside the commodity itself. And an EPR approach recognizes that producers are in the best position to influence the product design and make changes towards the circular economy to maximize the use of valuable resources. Within the Alberta EPR program, there are really 2 main product streams. We have what we call the single-use products, packaging, and paper products, or PPP program. That includes materials like newspaper, packaging, cardboard, printed paper magazines, both rigid and flexible plastics, as well as metal and glass. The other program that is under EPR is the Hazardous and Special Products program, and it includes things like consumer-sized solid, liquid, and gaseous products that are flammable, corrosive, and toxic. It also includes batteries and pesticides. There is an existing household hazard waste program that is in place in Alberta today that ARMA also looks after, and there will be certain crossovers as we introduce the HSP program here for EPR. So I mentioned a bit earlier that ARMA really is the oversight body, and what that means is our role is different than some of our traditional stewardship programs, electronics and paint. So from the Government of Alberta's Environment Protected Area Ministry, the government goal really is to determine the goals, outcomes, and directions related to the designated materials outlined between the PPP and HSP program. They maintain the legislative framework and policy direction to support the intended outcomes for the province. And they have an oversight agreement with us here at ARMA to ensure that we are operating the program as intended. And they have the ability to enforce contraventions against the act or regulation for any party that is part of EPR. For our role here in ARMA, we develop and maintain the bylaws and operational policies that really aligns with the government's framework. And we support the implementation and ongoing operation of the EPR system as a whole. And we deliver a level playing field that help ensures compliance across all of our stakeholders. We are responsible for the registry system for both registration of all of our stakeholders, as well as reporting of obligations from each stakeholder group. We engage with all of our impacted stakeholders, and our focus is on oversight of the operations and ensuring we have the outcomes we expect related to each designated material within both programs under EPR. We also educate and inform our stakeholders on their roles and responsibilities within the system through strategic communication efforts, and we also establish process and we escalate measures to compel compliance, especially from obligated producers. And we will refer cases to the Ministry for Enforcement as the last resort if there are severe bylaw contravention. We are also here to design appropriate performance measurements and to assess the performance of the EPR system. And our objective is to really have that continuous improvement to operate and achieve a higher environmental outcome over time. And finally, we'll report on the overall health of the system to the ministry and ensure they're aware of any issues that may be of concern to the government. So as we work to stand up the EPR oversight body supporting the regulatory framework, we are drawing on a lot of lessons learned from provinces like BC, Ontario, and other jurisdictions who has implemented EPR. And really the goal is to take all of those learnings to help shape a made in Alberta solution that really works for the unique landscape within the Alberta industry and recycling. We're committed to working with all of our stakeholders, and we're confident we can create a system that works and achieve a smooth transition from the existing process to a provincial recycling framework. And our goal is to really minimize red tape and unnecessary processes throughout this implementation. And we want to maximize the benefits like opportunities for innovation, enhance recycling percentages across the province, and building that circular economy within Alberta and keeping our environment clean for future generations. In terms of the implementation outcome, really we are trying to stand up a provincial recycling program, and that really includes collection service for both single family and multifamily homes in all of the communities within the province. So for communities that already have recycling programs in place, the goal is to shift the costs from taxpayers and municipal governments to producers under the EPR program. And we are also looking to stand up depots across the province in communities that will service both the PPP and HSP programs, include whether that's permanent depots or collection events, depending on the community. And we want to provide residents with that convenient options to be able to responsibly dispose and recycle hazardous and special products and certain PPP products as well. So I've talked a bit about the stakeholder groups, and in our system, there are 4 principal stakeholder groups, and each one has a different role, and there are different timelines for registration and operation. So the first and the most important is communities, and communities are defined by the regulation as cities, towns, villages, municipal districts, specialized municipalities, improvement districts, special areas, settlements, and Indian reserves. So registration for this group began on October 2nd, and I know Innisfil has pre-registered already as well, and we'll get a bit into what that means later on. The second group is the producer responsibility organizations, or what we call PROs. And they're an organization that's appointed by a producer to act as their agent. And the main role for a PRO is to work with collectively groups of producers for registration and reporting obligations within the EPR framework. So for Alberta, the PROs that operate here has to be a not-for-profit, and they're not able to be affiliated with any entity or individual that provides recycling service or waste management service. So they are really the coordinator of the system on behalf of producers, but they themselves cannot own or run any collection or processing facilities or business within Alberta. Producers, they are the primary party responsible for all of the materials introduced in recycling, and producers comes in a tiered format. So the first we look at is brand holders that reside within Canada. So if they're introducing material, is the branded holder, is the brand holder within Canada. If that's absent, then it's the importer of that commodity or good that's importing it within Alberta. And finally, if there's no importer, it's the retailer that's selling that commodity within the province. And finally, our last group is our processing facilities. So this group handles the receipt, recycling, downcycling, treatment, disposal, or the export of designated materials once it's collected. Similar to PROs, they must not have any kind of affiliation with a PRO, and they are asked to provide information regarding material types, their processing capacities, where the facilities are, so that PROs can help build that framework and collection and processing system within Alberta. And all of our participants here will need to register with ARMA in order to operate as part of the EPR system. So currently, producers will supply materials to consumers after use. It's the communities that bears that cost and responsibility of managing the recycled product. In the traditional system, the producer's role ends once the material are sold, disconnecting them from the post-consumer phase of their products. So in contrast, the EPR model makes sure the producers are accountable for their products throughout the entire life cycle. So this includes that post-consumer waste management, and this is the goal, is to shift that responsibility and the financial burden from communities to producers. So EPR is really designed to motivate producers to improve the efficiency of their material collection, to meet recycling targets, and to be innovative in product design to minimize waste. So this is where a pro manages that collection on behalf of multiple producers through a centralized system to enhance the efficiency of the process. So all of the producers will pay into a common collection system that's managed by producers, by pros, pardon me, and they work with processing facility to manage the collection and processing of all of the recycled material. So the slide shows that the shared collection system could include curbside pickup for individual homes, bin collection for multifamily complexes, and as well as drop-off depots. So a pro would take on the cost and coordination of the system for the producers, and they're working with all of the processing center to make sure the material are dealt with according to the goals set out in the regulation. So in addition to the common collection, they must process all of the materials collected to meet certain standards to make sure the majority of the materials are not going straight to landfill. And now I will pass it over to Kim to walk through what that transition looks like for communities within Alberta.
Hi, this slide illustrates some of the key aspects of the EPR transition and the different parties that communities may be connecting with. So with respect to registration, and as Innisfail is already pre-registered, you have had some connection with ARMA. So our duty is to be here to support communities who are interested in registering for EPR. As the oversight body, we facilitate the collection of relevant information about your community and convey this information to the pros or producer responsibility organizations. Registration may be completed by the community or by a community authority, such as a waste commission. In the case of a community authority registering on behalf of one or more communities, a registration application form will need to be completed for each individual community being registered. The community authority will need to obtain sign-off on a form provided by ARMA to document the authorization of the community authority to act on the community's behalf. If a community is part of a waste commission, they may choose to have the waste commission register on their behalf, or they can register on their own. Only one completed registration form, one for PPP and one for HSP, is required from each community. With respect to collection, the pros will use the data collected during community registration to understand the collection needs of each community and to plan a collection system that serves the entire province. Communities should expect to engage directly with pros to either transition existing collection service or establish new ones. For processing, pros will arrange for agreements with the processing facilities to properly recycle and manage collected materials to meet regulatory requirements. Finally, promotion and education. Producers, along with pros, will be responsible for the promotion and education component, and they will work with communities on developing effective promotion and education plans suitable for the unique needs of each community. So we are going to look at a couple of different scenarios. The first one we're going to look at is communities who have an existing PPP recycling collection service. So for communities with an existing service, they can start receiving collection under EPR from beginning April 1st, 2025 as part of phase 1. To be included in this initial phase, make sure to complete your registration form by December 31st, 2023. With respect to service standards in this scenario, the EPR Common Collection System will initially match the service of the community as of November 30th, 2022. What this means is a community that has curbside waste and curbside recycling services can anticipate curbside PPP recycling service as of April 1st, 2025. A community that has existing curbside waste collection and depot recycling can anticipate depot PPP recycling on April 1st, 2025 under Phase 1. These communities will see a service enhancement as their collection service aligns to waste service standards in Phase 2. For example, if curbside waste collection is offered by the community will expect curbside PPP collection service by October of 2026. We recommend that communities engage in discussions with a pro to review collection standards, the details of your community operated service providers, and any current service agreements that you may have. While we've provided some initial questions in the slide, and we will share this slide with council after our meeting, every community has individual needs and concerns. So please consider any additional questions that can help clarify the potential advantages or challenges specific to your community when discussing with the pro. If you are a waste commission with current collection infrastructure, such as a MRF, and wish to provide services under EPR, you may register with ARMA as a processing facility and begin discussions about the existing infrastructure with a pro. This discussion extends beyond ARMA's purview and would be a business arrangement between the commission and the pro. So in the second scenario for PPP, we look at communities currently without recycling services. So these communities will start receiving recycling services in Phase 2, starting October 1st, 2026. The PPP collection methods will align with the existing waste collection standards in these communities. So for example, if the community provides curbside waste collection, PPP will be collected curbside. If the community uses depot-based waste collection, then PPP will be collected at depots. Regarding multifamily residences, where a private contractor is hired by building owners or managers is currently providing waste and recycling services, these multifamily properties may be integrated into the EPR Common Collection System. This inclusion depends on the collaboration of the building owners and managers. Such multifamily dwellings will be eligible for service in Phase 2, starting in October 2026. Again, for communities identified in this scenario, we suggest that you consult with a producer responsibility organization regarding collection standards and strategies for promotion and education. Given that PPP services will be a new addition, understanding how the pro plans to handle communication and residents' information is important. The final scenario we're going to look at is the HSP scenario. So for this scenario is based on community size. So for communities with a population over 125,000 people, one permanent depot per 125,000 residents is required. Communities with a population between 10,000 to 125,000 residents, one permanent depot is required. For communities with a population between 1,000 to 10,000 people, they would receive one collection event annually. And communities with fewer than 1,000 people would receive one collection event per year upon notice. Notice is activated by expressing interest through registration with ARMA. Again, in this scenario, it's advisable to discuss current collection standards, community-owned depots, and existing service contracts with a pro. Finally, the EPR program presents a substantial opportunity for communities across Alberta. For communities with existing services, the operational costs of these services will be transferred to producers under the EPR program. This shift may alleviate some of the financial burden on your community, potentially reducing utility or tax levies. And these funds can be redirected to other valuable community initiatives. And for communities without existing recycling services, EPR will introduce the advantage of recycling in communities currently without them. ARMA has recently launched an EPR virtual lunch and learn series, so keep an eye on our website to stay up to date on webinars focused on certain topics. The November 16th session, which was last Thursday, focused on the community registration form and was posted to ARMA's website as a reference. So if you want to view that webinar, you are welcome to hop onto our website and take a look. On behalf of the ARMA team, thank you so much for your collaboration as we transition to an EPR system. And any questions?
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. I guess lots of questions, and I won't ask them all today, but how do you make producers pay? So let's say we have a grocery store in the community, their packaging is coming maybe from offshore. How do you force them to, I guess what you're saying is they're the ones that are going to pay to ensure that the material they're getting in is being recycled, and how do you make them recycle that?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, let me stop sharing. Maybe a bit easier. So all producers are obligated to register with ARMA. And then they need to report the materials supplied within the province. So for each designated material category, so whether that's paper, any kind of packaging like film plastic, if your groceries wrapped in any kind of saran wrap, stuff like that, it is their responsibility to identify how much packaging they are bringing into the province. So we look at it from a provincial level. So if you're, like your Sobeys, Safeway, Save On Foods, they're not really looking at an individual store, but they need to look at collectively how much of those packaging they're bringing into the province. And then the cost will be kind of proportional to their contribution to the supplied material. So part of for us is really that compliance, ensuring that they are registered with us. We know that they kind of exist. For some of our larger producers, that won't be as challenging. Any of our mid-sized producers, that's where we kind of would have teams that investigate and make sure that any producer who should be part of the system is registered and make sure to report with us. So we do something very similar on the stewardship side, where we have teams that investigate, tire electronics kind of suppliers into the province, and making sure that they are registered and are contributing to the system.
So what about the small business owner who's running a restaurant and they have packaging? Are they subjected to these same rules? And it sounds to me like it's a lot of red tape. And we're creating a middle person here to do things that I think we've been doing already. And yeah, I mean, somebody's going to pay for it, and we know that the cost will always be passed on to the consumer.
Yeah, so for a lot of our smaller businesses, we do have exemptions within the regulation. So if your business has an annual gross revenue under 1.5 million, you won't need to pay into the system. If you introduce materials within a certain threshold, you won't need to pay into the system. So for each material type, there is a different threshold. So for example, paper is 9 tons. Plastic is 2 tons per plastic category, whether that's rigid plastic, kind of like your takeout containers, or flexible plastic. And then metal and wood is 1 ton. So if you're under those thresholds, you won't need to pay into the system.
Okay, and what happens if a municipality doesn't want to register with this program?
Yeah, so registration is completely voluntary.
Okay.
So if you don't register, then you won't be part of the EPR system, and you can operate your current system as is.
Okay, And do you have any stats on how much recycling is actually being recycled in Alberta today?
So in terms of like how much material is collected and recycled across the province today?
Yes.
I don't think we have a comprehensive picture from the entire province.
Okay.
We are getting information from different communities as they register. I know there was a study done, I want to say the GOA did a study a while back, but that kind of predates me. So I can certainly look and see what studies have been done specifically for Alberta, and we're happy to share that with council.
Oh, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Sorry, I'm hogging the questions here, but no? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming, and I'm sure that we'll continue to dialogue with our administration team over this subject matter. But thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So we will move on to 4.1, and I'll ask Manager Mackenzie to come up with the FCSS report.
Thank you. So just here to present some of the overview of the understanding and responding to the challenges faced by FCSS programs in rural Alberta report, just to support some increased awareness and advocacy efforts. So the understanding and responding to the challenges faced by FCSS programs in rural Alberta report was prepared for the rural municipalities of Alberta by the Alberta Centre for Sustainable Rural Communities at the University of Alberta. The report provides some powerful evidence as to the realities of the issues in rural Alberta and will continue to support continued advocacy efforts for improved delivery of provincial social services and adequate funding of FCSS programs in rural communities. Some of the key challenges identified in the report are insufficient provincial funding. So across the province, FCSS program costs have been rapidly increasing in the last 5 years. Government of Alberta funding, which was meant to equate to 80% of FCSS core funding, has remained largely stagnant since 2015, with a small increase in 2023. The majority of rural FCSS offices are increasingly reliant on municipal contributions well above the required 20%. Here in Innisfil, that funding split looks closer to 60-40. Other challenges identified, increasing inaccessibility of provincial social services in rural Alberta. The ongoing centralization of social support services in Alberta has generated challenges for rural FCSS programs, challenges that have only multiplied with recent GOA decisions to transition to 1-800 intake lines and online web portals for several social service supports. A lot of our folks that are looking to access these services don't necessarily have the skills or resources to navigate these systems. Changing and increasing social needs in rural communities. FCSS programs across rural Alberta are encountering far more community members with more complex social needs than ever before, ourselves included. This places additional pressure on our rural FCSS offices to provide intervention type services that incur that extra cost and effort that entails outside of prevention mandate. Some of the policy recommendations coming out of this report include increasing core funding from the GOA, increasing the accessibility of provincial social support services for rural Albertans, ensuring that future public policy related to social service delivery in Alberta is approached via a rural lens, and ensuring that social service policy in Alberta is designed with meaningful contributions from rural FCSS programs.
Okay, thank you, Manager. Are you going to continue through the, okay.
I won't read through the report.
No, it was an excellent report, and you know, I know it's for Alberta, so my question is, can you, I know we have budget this week, but I guess what I would like to see is, if we are at 60-40, what does that look like? I know we get a chart at one point in the year, so it shows who we're funding, and who are we funding, and what does it look like if we go to 80-20? Because I don't want to sound hard-hearted, because I'm not, but why are we picking up that extra 20% when that should be somebody else doing that, and what does that look like? So did you participate in this?
This report was done pre my time.
Okay, because I'm wondering even if, you know, you go through those questions and kind of put that into an Innisfail lens, what that would look like, or I mean, maybe it's a lot of work and I don't expect it tomorrow, but I think it'd be really handy for us this week for budget to kind of see what that looks like. And, you know, maybe we need to do some advocacy work. I know RMA and I think Alberta Munis is doing quite a bit, but I would like to know what challenges you have, Manager McKenzie and FCSS, because I'm sure they are plentiful these days.
Yeah, no, absolutely something we can look at putting together.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'm curious about an announcement that was made last year by the provincial government at budget time where they indicated that food banks in the province would receive funding through FCSS. I think they were going to use FCSS as the vehicle to flow that money through, totally in contravention of, yeah. Did the Innisfail Food Bank, however, receive funding from that program?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. Yes. You know, so they use the setup of FCSS across the province to disperse those funds. And yes, outside of that prevention mandate.
Any other questions? I'm just looking through my scribbly notes in the report for a second, so. Yeah, so anyway, I guess if we could get something, whatever that might look like sometime this week for.
Yeah, we
Go on.
certainly have in the budget sort of what we've been funding,
Yeah.
and we can, you know, show you what 80/20 would look like, and Krista and I can go through those questions.
Yeah, like even where we have picked up that 20%, like where is that, and need a money tree, that's all. Okay, so thank you very much for coming. I think we'll just have a motion, please. Yes.
I'll move that we accept the report for information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And next up, we have Manager Leith, 4.2, the medical first response change that is coming. Welcome.
So as Mayor and Council are aware, Innisfail Fire Department respond to medical emergencies under the Alberta Health Services Medical First Responder Scheme. The Fire Department responds to medical calls in our area where an ambulance is more than 15 minutes out and the call type is designated Delta or Echo, so those life-threatening calls. The level of care we provide was set at first aid. This has now been adjusted and approved by Alberta Health Services to basic life support. This improvement in care level is based upon our ability to respond with a minimum of a primary care paramedic for 80% of the calls that we attend. The improved level of care will enable our trained responders to administer potential life-saving drugs and treatments when arriving first on scene or in support of other responders. Additional supplies and medications are provided by Alberta Health Services, and a grant application for a cardiac monitor or a LifePak 15 has also been submitted to them.
Okay, thank you, Manager Leith. Does anybody have any questions? Can you tell me, explain to us how you bill for your services as first responders, say to a highway accident?
So to a highway accident, the numbered highways we bill Alberta Transport Services based upon a matrix that they increase annually. So currently we get $700 for an engine or tender unit. A command unit is $200 and they're paid by the hour. So we're billed by the hour. So if we send 3 units out, which is a standard response to Highway 2, we're getting like, yeah, at least $2,100 per hour.
And Manager Leith, how much is the LifePak 15? What's the cost on that?
LifePak 15, the grant application is currently in for $30,000.
And when do you find out about that?
Hopefully any day now.
Okay. And is that fully funded through the grant application, or?
If they give us the
preferably?
full amount, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Councillor Bates?
Yeah, just wondered, what's the time frame around this change? Like,
So
I know we got some stats coming here, and
yeah, so that basically we're waiting on supplies from Alberta Health Services, so those additional drugs and adjuncts, as we would call them, airways and other things. So once we have those supplies in place, we are able to turn around and respond to it. We already have permission to move to that level of care.
so as some of this comes, you just, or is somebody putting a date on it? Or
Again, we're just literally at the mercy of Alberta Health Services. They are supplying it through Jackson's Pharmacy, so when those supplies come in, we can stock the units and we'll be responding to that level of care.
CEO Becker?
Yeah, I think council and to the manager, maybe if we could just kind of back up a few years where municipalities were quite concerned with the demand on volunteer paid on call fire departments to help cover that shortfall of or perception of service from EMS services, where municipalities said, well, we're not going to do that. Well, who's going to do it? And fire departments, well, we're attending, we're first on scene. We have to undertake some level of care. So right now we're, and Gary, please change my wording if I'm off base here, but just to help with the dialogue, is that right now we're well suited with highly educated professional firefighters, and that is increasing, where we can respond to what the manager's telling you. However, if that structure of our fire department changes, there is no obligation to maintain that level of service. So because we have the ability to attend, provide this level of service, let's do it because we are there. Let's not just provide first aid, let's provide that additional level of care. However, if the fire department has a shift, because we're basically relying on folks to leave their workplaces and such to support our community and region, if we're unable to maintain this level of service, then we need to adjust, and we don't have liability if we do that. So, manager, is that fair, my comments?
Yeah, no, that's 100% accurate. And our obligation to respond, because we can meet the 80% based upon our stats, we can move up that level. If we respond to a medical call and we don't have a primary care paramedic or qualified person, we drop back to the level of care of first aid, which is what we originally would. So, yeah, we're not under no obligation to maintain, bless you, maintain the basic life support level of care. We're able to provide that level right now, and certainly on some of the calls that we attend, where we're potentially waiting 15 to 20 minutes, it certainly could be a life-saving move.
Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through to Manager Lee. Yeah, expanding on that, how many members do we have now that could administer this level of care?
So we currently have 4 primary care paramedics and 1 advanced care paramedic. 2 of the primary care paramedics are also members of staff on, not only on the fire department, but also full-time members of staff for Innisfail.
Okay. And supplementary, going forth then, would we offer some type of training in the form of, dollars to provide training to keep a level, or are we just, when those 4 people are gone, they're gone?
At this point, with the level of care or level of training we offer is advanced first aid, which is equivalent to emergency medical responder. So as a fire department, we train to that level currently.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, and congratulations to you and the department for meeting this threshold, and we appreciate everything you do, for sure. So, can I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Dunham?
Mayor Barclay will make the motion that council accepts the medical first response change to level of care provision report as information.
Great, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And we'll move on to 4.3 with the statistics for the year.
Okay, we currently have 26 paid on call or volunteer staff. 13 of these staff have less than 2 years of service on the department. The training year 9 of our new members work through NFPA certified training in firefighting operations, wildland, hazardous material response and high angle rescue, with additional training in swift water and ice rescue operations. This has been a significant commitment of the members involved, which included numerous weekends and evenings throughout this year. This process normally takes between 2 and 5 years, depending on individuals' ability and commitment. In 2024, it's anticipated as a comparison that we will have 3 to 4 firefighters begin this level of training. Increases in training hours does impact our budgets. However, a portion of the course fees will be covered by a joint training grant with Red Deer County. The training supported by incident responses has enabled these new members to attain the levels of certification required to support and maintain our operational service levels and reduce liability. The use of alarm monitoring calls has resulted in an increase in alarms and false alarm calls. Noting that an alarm call is when the alarm has worked as designed, such as food left unattended. This has resulted in preventing serious incident escalation on several occasions. Medical calls at this point in the year are consistent with last year. You can see the stats we have there. So revenue year to date, as Mayor Barclay stated, is generated through our responses to motor vehicle collisions, and that currently stands at $111,000 year to date. We also have a contract agreement with Red Deer County to cover the area surrounding Innisfell, which results in $120,000 a year. So incidents year to date for 2023 is 376 calls year to date. If we look back at last year, it was 301 at this point. And if we go all the way back to 2016, it was 188. So we literally have in that 7 years doubled our call responses. So moving on to protective services, we have 2 community peace officers along with a summer student for bylaw enforcement. There is continued integration through joint force operations with RCMP and regional community peace officers such as Penhold and Red Deer County and CP Rail Police. This year was year 2 of the summer bylaw position, which focused on back alley reclamation with operations, and the project will continue into 2024. These positions also supported multi-agency incident responses, not only for the fire department, RCMP, as well as active participation in community events, bike rodeo, Remembrance Day, soapbox derby, Innisfell Parade, Harvest Festival, skate park community event, Centennial Park community engagement, Christmas tree lighting, etc. Year-to-date stats, again, their files are increasing year on year. And tickets issued, if you look at 2022 there, ticket cost up to date was $49,000. And if we move on to this year, ticket written would potentially equate to nearly $90,000 year to date. Again, animal control presents challenges to us. The reallocation of animals and the care of those animals that come into our possession can be costly at times and lengthy files. This year, one example, we had 2 dogs that were left in Innisfell. To look to adopt them out required us to get them neutered and vaccinated through a local veterinary. And unfortunately, this process took several weeks, at which point the owner was able to find their animals. The owner actually came out of Linden. The animals were brought to Innisfell and basically dumped here. But you can imagine that the length of time and the cost just to support those pieces can be significant. So current actions coming from this, we're currently reviewing our fire service bylaw and looking to provide consistencies in fees for service, and this could create potential to increase revenue to offset operating costs. Within the town of Innisfell itself, any motor vehicle collisions we do not charge currently. for attendance at those collisions. And there's no charge to provision, even for insured costs for attendance at fires. And we're reviewing their animal control service provision and relationships with our contract services providers and also with our neighbouring municipalities and the county to be consistent in the treatment of those animals.
Would that be typical, Manager Leith, that there would be no charges to insurance for attendance, or is that just something more unique to us? Or
Your Worship, currently looking at other communities of a similar size, they do look to charge for fire service responses. Looking at how their bylaws operate, generally the first hour is given for free. Anything subsequently potentially could be charged.
okay. So you're looking to set that up, or looking into it anyway to potentially do that here?
We have a revised bylaw currently that is waiting to go through legal and will look to be brought before council fairly soon.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Okay, any questions? No? Please have somebody make the recommended motion. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'd like to move that council accept the fire and protective year-to-date statistics as information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried.
Thank you.
Well, keep up the great work. Busy. Very busy. Okay, and next we'll go into 4.4 with Director Kennedy and the Trail Master Plan.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. So yeah, we have done a update to the 2019 Trail Master Plan. A bit of background, so it started back in 2010 where the town completed an open spaces master plan. From there, in 2019, we completed the Trail and Pedestrian Master Plan, which outlined a bunch of priorities for renewal and expansion. This update that we currently worked on will build, refine, and expand on the actions identified in the previous two plans, as well as including considerations of trails and sidewalks as an overall pedestrian network. Some of the highlights and changes that we have within the plan. Within 2021, the town did conduct a citizen satisfaction survey where 98% of the respondents indicated sidewalks and trails and pathways were either very or somewhat important. 88% of the respondents indicated they were very or somewhat satisfied with the current level of service. 39% of the respondents indicated support for greater investment in the trails. 56 indicated investment should remain about the same, as well as 5% felt investment should be a little less. In 2021, we did complete the Dodds Lake Area Community Recreation Plan, which did provide an overall plan for the Dodds Lake area for both short-term and long-term visions of the lake, proposing appropriate land-based recreational amenities and water-based uses. This plan focused on environmental, social, and engineering functions of the lake. Dodds Lake is an important and valued community asset. It does provide a unique opportunity for residents to interact within a small natural water body. In 2023, Town of Innisfail administration engaged two groups to review the trail network. One was the Age-Friendly Committee to provide targeted feedback relating to the mobility, connectivity, and safety within the existing trail network, as well as the Trans-Canada Trail portion of our network was reviewed for access and mobility issues. This information will be added to the Access Now website regarding information on the Trans-Canada Trail. Fourth, the entire community pedestrian network has been evaluated for current conditions in the last 2 years. Sidewalk condition assessments were done in 2022, as well as updated condition assessments of the paved trails were completed this past summer. Some projects of note within the plan that we've completed. So we have completed a number of policies: Park Donation Memorial Program, the Snow and Ice Policy, the Public Space Maintenance Policy. We completed a number of projects along 48th Street sidewalks, some trail and sidewalk upgrades along 53rd and 52nd Avenue. We completed the 50th Street Service Road pedestrian walkway, obviously the CP rail crossing, the recreation plan around Dodds Lake, 3 phases of the wayfinding signage, as well as numerous crosswalk enhancements throughout town, so a number of projects. Ongoing, we continue to look at our park amenity replacements, public awareness, the Innisfail mobile app, so continuing to upgrade that and maintain Trans-Canada Trail upgrades. We work with Trans-Canada Trail every year to look at how we can upgrade and maintain that trail. In the forecasting side, we continue to upgrade the 5 and 10-year capital forecasting, as well as looking at annual operating capital budgeting towards the trails and sidewalks. Some of the highlights of priority projects that we have identified within the updated plan is to finalize updates on the design and construction specifications, currently working on the municipal development plan, connectivity to 40th Ave from 50th Street, looking at potentially phase 1 of the Dodds Lake Community Rec Plan, the Highway 54 and 42nd Street pedestrian crossing, trail removal along the north side of Lakewood Drive. Other priorities, the dog park lighting and parking area, additional benches and garbage recycling, street lighting along the service roads, traffic calming at in intersections along 56th Street, interpretive signage along or around Napoleon Lake, as well as another phase of wayfinding. Within the 3 to 5 year horizon, we are looking at a second phase potentially of the Dodds Lake Rec Plan, trail upgrades along Lakewood Drive, connectivity trails or stairs to the 52nd Ave close. That's from the LLC. Sidewalk upgrades along 42nd Street, connectivity of sidewalk on 49th Ave and 49A Ave. We'd like to look at solar trail lighting in Raspberry Park, as well as some trail upgrades. And then some other intersection upgrades along 50th Ave and 56th Street, and additional sidewalk improvements for connectivity on 48th Street. Some of the 5-year outlook projects is the connectivity to Discovery Wildlife Park, improving sidewalk networks along 42nd Ave and 48th Ave, potentially the 3rd phase of the Dodds Lake Community Rec Plan, extending the trail network along Highway 54, improving sidewalk networking along 42nd Street, and regional connectivity with the Trans-Canada Trail along the CME. The Trail Master Plan, I think we've been very successful with following this document. That's why we looked at just doing an upgrade to it instead of developing a new document. We'll continue to utilize this plan for the next 3 years, at which time we will then again evaluate either another update or potentially looking at a new plan and reevaluate as a whole. So.
All right, thank you. I want to ask a question.
Yes.
On the trail removal along the north side of Lakewood Drive.
Yes.
Everybody's laughing, smiling. In my opinion, that shouldn't happen. I just see a lot of people using that as a way to get to the golf course or just go for a walk or go for a bike ride. I think even in the wintertime, people use it to get from the ski hill to the golf course to do some cross-country skiing or snowshoeing. And if anything, and in my opinion anyway, to me, a long-term plan should be how do we extend that trail? And I guess I would have a crazy vision of even how do we extend that down to the river someday and have a joint project with Red Deer County. I know they have a trail master plan that I think they developed in 2020 or 2021 or something. So anyway, that's just kind of my 2 cents. And
If I should have put clarification in there. That's not the whole section along Lakewood Drive. That was my mistake. That's just a section between the gas station to the LLC. The section that's really low, it's not maintained during the winter. That was the section identified in the report.
Well,
The rest of the
you're off
section,
the
we were
hook.
actually looking to upgrade.
Okay, you're off the hook then.
So, my apologies, I should have clarified that in the chart. Yeah, so, good catch.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think for clarity though, for new council members, so a council or two ago approved this document with the direction to remove the trail as per the director's statement by going from Stewart Construction all the way to LLC and beyond, and just to that
That
point.
was it, yeah, just that section alone. So that was my mistake for not clarifying
No, that's fine.
the section.
Do you even want to remove that though, or can it be maintained and upgraded to where it's, I know it's underwater some of the time or under, yeah.
And that is the point identified in the report, is that, yeah, it's not a maintained trail. In the wintertime, we don't plow it,
Yeah.
we don't do anything with it. At that time within the report, and it can be adjusted if
Yeah.
council feels that it's more of a, maybe that's a 5-year plus project that needs to be identified on how that trail can be updated when maybe the Stewart property is developed and
Hi.
then it's enhanced. So,
Just see
very good.
people using that to get to the library, you
Absolutely.
know, that side. So anyway, Councillor Bates.
So I initially lit up to ask a question, but my memory of that trail was, to a great extent, we actually plow snow off the road onto it, and that it would require another piece of right-of-way or whatever you want to actually make it proper, that, you know, so it's pretty complicated. The question I was going to ask is if I look at our trail system, which is very impressive, I think, and the percentage of expenditure to maintain it versus the percentage that would go to new projects, do you have a feel how we split that ongoing?
Right now, we don't have a split, so what we do is we've tried to incorporate a budget every year for trail maintenance and installation. How we separate that out kind of depends on the projects, and then we look at it in that 0 to 3 timeframe on how we can try and budget and fit it in, so we don't have a separation.
Because obviously ongoing, the more you get, the more you maintain.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, and just through to Director Kennedy. Yeah, I kind of lit up here because I was just going to give you notice. I wanted to talk about this during budget. The pathway, the trail along 50th heading west doesn't serve our major town facility, the library. Doesn't serve young families or older adults trying to get to the library. I hear from people a lot, why the heck did you build the library out of town instead of having it in the middle of the community where we can get to it? So that's one piece. People trying to get to the cemetery. And then we have people that live west of that area too. So I think, like I said, I'd like to have this conversation during budget because I think that's an area that needs a little bit more immediate attention than what we're giving to it. So we'll chat about it in a couple of days. Thanks.
And just one further question, Director Kennedy. Things like picnic tables in places like Centennial Park and other parks, like they're kind of down to the wood. There's not, like, is that part of ongoing maintenance that you look at and do, or is that something that we would actually see in budget, or?
We do look at that. It's in our operating budget that we maintain as needed. Every year we look at our picnic tables, our benches. Are they at a place where they need to be replaced? Are they at a place where we can just repair the boards, repaint? During COVID, we did a number of benches and picnic tables where we were able to just refurbish them a lot cheaper than replacement. Brad is working on the costing and budgeting and trying to allocate 3, 5, and whatever we can every year.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have increased significantly. We just actually got a report in regards to a picnic table. Just a accessible picnic table alone is $2,700 to replace. So they are significant, but we are looking at looking at the boards and how we can maybe just look at improvements.
Well, maybe the men's shed could build one for less than 2,700. Okay, no, great, thank you, and it's a very thorough report, so thank you for this. It's good to be reminded, and look forward to the coming week. So I'll just have somebody please make the recommended motion that we accept this as information.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make the motion we accept as information.
Okay, thank you, and all in favor? Okay, carried. And we'll just thank you for coming. Let's go into the correspondence. And just have somebody to make a motion that we accept the correspondence as information, please. Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barclay, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about anything? All in favor? Okay. CO
Mayor
Becker.
Barclay had this dropped off on Friday. It's a Innisfil Festival of Trees, and it goes to those participants that are putting trees up in the festival. It sounds like there's a few trees coming from the town, from council, as well as the administration and operations side too. So the event is Friday, November 24th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the LLC. RSVP is immediate, so if you're interested in attending, I think we'll have forgiveness to RSVP by tomorrow. And we can take care of that if you let Juanita know that you're interested in attending.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Barclay, may I? I was going to address this later on, but thank you for bringing it up, CO Becker. No need to RSVP. We have had such a great response to it. We've decided just to, if people come, they come. We'll have enough wine and cheese and drinks and food for everybody. So it, yes, 5:30 to 7:30. Everybody's
Okay,
welcome.
all right, thank you. Friday, yeah, from 5:30 to 7:30. Okay, I'll just have somebody please make a motion that we accept the correspondence as information. Councillor
so
Harrison.
move.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And we'll begin roundtable with Councillor Messaros today.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. It was a busy week, starting on Wednesday. I attended the Cape AGM, and that was very interesting and informative. And then attended my first FCSS meeting, and I mean, there's quite a bit going on there. Do you want a written report later, or do you want both? All right. Chair was voted in, Ron King, and some of the things that we're discussing, or that I'm learning about, is the provincial umbrella association, and some of the things that the committee does is hold a vote so that Kristen submits our vote to the provincial association. And so what we're doing this time around is changing the bylaws so that the position for president goes for 2 years instead of 1 to create some consistency. We learned a little bit about, we did it like an FCSS 101, learning a little bit about the model, the prevention model. Of course, we talked a little bit about the funding and the fact that our municipality is now doing a 40 to 60 coverage. And one of the things that they're doing that we're going to be doing, or that Kristen is doing, is working to simplify the application processes for the granting. There's 8 different, I think she works with 8 different templates. She's going to be working on simplifying it according to the amount of money that people are applying for. And then the chamber meeting, it was quite fun. Actually, I really enjoyed being at it. One of the things that was said in the meeting, and I just wanted to share this, was Blaine brought this up, and it's just something nice to think about, and that is that in Bhutan, they don't measure GDP, they measure GNH, which is gross national happiness, which I love. We talked about, what's going on, the market's coming up, and just they've put 3 subcommittees together, and this is something that I want to talk about in terms of council involvement in those subcommittees and what the expectation is. I just want to make sure that we run by that and that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I haven't reported on FCM in a little while, and the long and the short of FCM so far is that I've really only attended 2 meetings. The total charges to the town have been $200. But the report for what was accomplished in September for the 2 meetings that I attended out of, I don't know, 4 or 5 days has just come out, and I'll do a summary report on that next week. And the next kind of big thing that FCM is doing is happening while we're doing budget deliberations. And I will be able to take part in meetings from 6:30 until 8 in the morning before we do budget. And then I'll be able to attend the board meeting on Friday. But other than that, I'll miss most of it. But I will report on what I witness.
All right.
And sorry, also hometown, or the Christmas tree lighting was just spectacular and wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Messaros. And Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Quiet week for me last week. I was able to attend the Friday night tree light up, which was so wonderful to see so many people out. It's amazing what some good weather will do to get people out of their houses. On Saturday, I did have an opportunity to attend a part of a workshop that was held at the LLC around queer microaggression, which I wish more people in the community could have had an opportunity to attend, because even myself, who's a member of the LGBTQ+ community, 2S community, I learned a bit. I unfortunately had to leave early as we had our final catering at the restaurant, but definitely looking forward to next year. We're hopefully bringing Victoria, who is the presenter from Calgary. We'll have her back for Pride next year. Fingers crossed, because I think it's something that every community needs to learn about. And that was it for me.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Wing?
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. Yeah, unfortunately, due to a nasty flu bug, I was not able to participate in community events last week. I was, however, able to Zoom into the Parkland Regional Library System meeting on Thursday and was elected by colleagues from this zone to continue representing them on the executive committee. Relative to that particular meeting as well, the 2024 operating budget was approved by the majority of member municipalities. The meeting in February will see presentations focusing on the pros and cons of reopening the membership agreement, primarily to adjust language relative to the per capita statistics, but we'll see how that all plays out in February. And also board elections did happen that day as well. Barb Gilliatt, who's the councillor from the village of Alex, was elected as chair, which is I think a really good decision. Barb was the vice chair and she's done a really good job. I did spend the weekend reviewing the budget package, so thanks to Director Vickers for all of her hard work relative to that. Of course, this week sees the budget deliberations, the grand reveal tomorrow of the new Little Free Library at the Arena, Festival of Trees, and Innisfail Pride is hosting bowl, sing, and a snack event on Sunday at the Innisfail Bowling Alley. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Bates?
Okay, so I attended the countdown to Christmas. It was, yeah, the weather, and I think the success of past ones has kind of started to build a little bit more excitement, especially with the kids. This morning I attended the Mountain View Water Commission meeting. We had the org meeting. Mayor Lance Colby is still the chair, the fellow that came and presented to us. And trying to keep some stability. Only Didsbury changed their primary. I'm going to jump down here and say the next meeting that we have is December 13th, and we're trying to get our backups there and actually refresh for ourselves too, and do some tours and that sort of thing. So Councillor Wing, I've already notified her, and I would assume and hope that our town would support sending her to that. The other thing we did, mostly in camera, there was a couple issues, but the big one being the power failure and resulting Olds boil water. I am able to state that there's a meeting this Thursday with the commission executive and staff with Olds to get all of the facts mutually understood, because I don't believe they still know them all, but they're getting there. And I do believe there was some overreaction with the emergency beacon that came out to many of you. It didn't come to me because I wasn't on a cell tower near here, but so they're gonna have that meeting, get their facts, and then they intend to have a meeting with the operations of all the communities to basically go over the results of that event and assess the status in all the communities and procedures, just to make the most of that. Yeah. I do have a couple more facts that could be shared after the Olds meeting, and we'll just see how that plays out. This week I intend to attend the budget for a good portion of the week, and what was it you came up with? I was going to do that too. I need your help. Well, of course that. And the little free library, I'll try and catch that too. Thank you.
Okay. And Councillor Harrison?
Okay, thank you, Mayor Barclay. Through to council, I attended our first committee meeting, age friendly. There was one change, one of the board members. The rest of the committee is pretty much the same. We had a quick review. We had Committee Work 101. Our CAO came and presented to us, which was very good, and I think the new person afterwards had got a lot out of that 20-minute presentation that you give on how committees operate. We're working on a budget. So it was basically just a sort of a meet and greet and to come up with our duties over the next year. Also attended the Christmas tree lighting, countdown to Christmas. Again, I echo the comments. It was very well attended. It was a great night to be out. I did attend RDR Mug in Drumheller on Thursday. And again, very little turnover on the actual committee at all. There was, I think, 2 new faces, and all the rest were pretty much the same. So it's good for consistency. Now that we're starting to actually get some actions coming out of that committee, that projects that we can actually get our teeth into and start to work on. One of the things that came out, the chair and co-chair attended a meeting with Alberta Environment on the Wednesday prior to the Thursday meeting, so it was hot off the press. Alberta Environment does not have a drought management plan for the province of Alberta, which really struck a lot of people by surprise. And they're quite concerned about the drought conditions that are going to be coming here in 2024 and 2025. And they've asked all municipalities, giving us a heads up, to think about how we can start to conserve water. And I know in Innisfail we have our alternate watering programs and everything. But it's got to a point, it's created a lot of angst, a lot of gray hair in government. They have actually woke up to, we have an issue with water in this province, and it's a big concern. So as we go through, and I've spoke with the CAO about maybe we can think about if we need to do anything at budget time. So be thinking about that. It's pretty critical, almost to the point that they've given notice to a plant in Medicine Hat that they may have to restrict water supplies to a fertilizer plant in Medicine Hat this summer. The Old Man Reservoir is at 27% of their fill at this time of the year. And I think we all know where our water comes from. It comes from the eastern slopes. It comes from snow. 90% of our water comes from snow. And if we don't get a snowpack, it could be pretty serious. What concerns me, and I'll certainly have a conversation with Councillor Bates around, is the Water Commission in a position that if there are flows that are restricted, are the intakes at a point where we can still suck water? But now's not the time to have that. I think be something over time that, and maybe we can get together with.
Probably should respond to that, though. We can intake water, to my understanding, I'm not the technical guy sitting there, at the minimum stream flow that's required to get to Saskatchewan, as long as we can, and our license is more than triple what we've been taking out, I think. So, again, we could be impacted if somebody comes to us, the government, and says, for this period of time, you have to use less, but we've never faced difficulty to be able to take water when there's the minimum amount going by that ultimately has to get to Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and I believe those are the
And of course,
discussions.
City
that
of
need-
Red Deer's intake is down from us, and
Yeah, I believe those are the discussions that should take place between the
I think where you're
government
really
and
gonna
and
see
the
them
commission.
is on the bow and the old man. That's just from my previous hearings of MUG, and because they're licensed out and yeah, I know they're using it all.
Yeah, I can tell you that there was a lot of concern at RD Mug on Thursday with the chair and co-chair who had sat through the environment meeting and heard from the Alberta government that these are potential. So all I'm saying is I think we need a heads up. We need to be cognizant of it, and whatever comes of it. So I think that was it for me. Yeah, and this week will be spent 3 days in budget, maybe 4, maybe 5. We don't know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrison. I'm curious I have heard that there are communities in southern Alberta that may be without water come January. Was that addressed at all, or?
No, they didn't get into that kind of detail, but there is a lot of concern.
It's dire, yeah.
There's a lot of concern.
Interesting.
Your worship, if I could just add to, I don't know how I came across, but didn't mean to diminish any concern. One of the interesting things that was stated today at the meeting was we haven't heard anything recently from government, so maybe we will be.
Okay, thank you. So last week, we had our Cape Fall annual meeting. We had presentations from the Mountain View Film Office. If anybody wants to see a really cool overview, you can just Google Mountain View Film Office, and there's a video on there kind of showing the region. It's absolutely beautiful, and they've done a wonderful job. So Mayor Rhonda Hunter and their Economic Development Officer, Jonathan Allen, did that presentation. Then Rory Wheat from Varma did a presentation to the group, and the keynote presentation came from Sunterra Farms. Minister Dreeshen gave some opening remarks as well, so it was a good day and a full house. Afterwards, we had a very brief board meeting because it was getting kind of late, but Lawrence Lee from Red Deer, he's replaced Bruce Baruma as the Red Deer representative. Mayor Rhonda Hunter and Mayor Barry Klepke, bless you, were re-elected onto the board. And the new executive is Councillor Lee as vice chair, Mayor Hunter as the treasurer, Councillor Faye McGee from Nehill County as secretary, and I was elected as chair. So looking forward to working with this dedicated group of people. It's a great group of people, and of course we've all met Tracy, and she is fantastic. So lots of things to do, but we will get there. On Friday, I met with Councillor Ian Ostindi, I never pronounce his name right, and Councillor Shireen Dawkin from Sylvan Lake, just through Zoom. And they want to learn more about what Innisfail was doing in the energy area, rooftop solars on our facilities, and some of the stuff in the solar or in the industrial park, our Innisfail Energy Hub. And I've also certainly made it, clear that their administration is more than welcome to reach out to our administration for any details, and particularly you, Director Jenkins, so especially around the rooftop, because they really haven't addressed that at Sylvan Lake at all, and it sounds like they would sure like to. Friday evening, I attended the countdown to Christmas. Many thanks to the town of Innisfail staff, everybody that was involved in making that evening so enjoyable. The tree, once again, looks beautiful, and anybody you spoke to that evening or since that evening had an absolutely wonderful time. And I know Manager Mackenzie said that I think it was, I don't know, a half an hour into the evening, they ran out of cookies and hot chocolate, and there was enough there for 250 people. So it gives you an idea how many people were there. And so again, congrats, Town of Innisfail staff. On Saturday, I attended the event that Councillor Dunham referred to. I wasn't able to stay for the day, but I had another commitment. But in a short time, I learned so much, and I really hope that there's another opportunity for the community to be able to come and learn again and get more community members out, because it really was an excellent afternoon. So with that, we will go to upcoming events. I'll just have a
Mayor
motion.
Barclay, can I just ask that the Innisfail Public Library Board meeting on November the 28th at 6 p.m. be added? It's the fourth Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And I'll just have a motion, please.
Got
Oh,
an
sorry.
addition too.
You know, maybe the best thing to do, could you email Juanita with the additions, just so she has them? I
Yeah,
think
it just
It's easier for her
happened.
that way than,
It just happened, so
Yeah.
that's why it's not on here,
Yeah.
but December the 6th is that oddball waste commission.
oddball waste.
Well,
Can put
it's
that on the
oddball in,
schedule, oddball waste commission.
we know we're gonna have ones
Yeah.
twice a year, and this is the second time, so.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, I'll just have somebody make a motion that we accept the upcoming events as information.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, all in favor? Great, carried. And then we'll just have an adjournment if there's nothing else. Okay, I will adjourn the meeting since nobody else is looking to do that, so. Okay, meeting adjourned at 4:47. See everybody tomorrow.